A moment when the cracks in the foundation aren't just visible, they're audible, screaming, deafening. And for the Cleveland Browns, that moment is right now, because the locker room has officially imploded. Players are whispering, coaches are seething, and Shedeur Sanders, the rookie quarterback drafted to be the future, is stuck on the sidelines, watching the entire organization melt down from inside a cage of silence. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. It's chaos, not the kind you can brush off with a vague tweet or a carefully worded presser. No, this is the kind of chaos that rots from the inside. The kind that starts in private, then leaks out like a slow gas leak until the whole thing explodes under stadium lights. And make no mistake, it's already exploding. The Browns' locker room has turned into a war zone of trust issues and whisper resentment. A place that's supposed to be sacred, tight-knit, unbreakable, it's now a gossip mill, with everyone looking over their shoulder, wondering who's leaking what next. Players are frustrated. The coaching staff is scrambling. And fans? Fans are done playing nice. But let's rewind. How do we get here? It started with a draft pick. A bold, risky, exciting pick. Shedeur Sanders, the highly touted quarterback out of Colorado, with NFL blood running through his veins and ice in his throwing hand. His potential? Undeniable. His swagger? Unapologetic. His presence? Immediate. You don't just have a player like that. You build around him. Unless, apparently, you're the Cleveland Browns. Because instead of unleashing Shedeur, the Browns decided to cage him. Not just bench him. Not just develop him slowly. Hide him. Keep him as a backup to the backup. Turn him into a quiet insurance policy, while more familiar faces eat up valuable snaps and throw picks like candy. And look, development takes time. Everyone gets that. Not every rookie gets to start day one. But this isn't normal development. This is straight-up football purgatory. From the moment camp started, the signs were there. Shedeur looked sharp in practice. Players noticed. Assistants noticed. Even media folks whispered about the rookie with real juice. But instead of grooming him for the future, the Browns started drafting other quarterbacks, giving more reps to stopgaps, letting journeyman and system guys soak up opportunities while Shedeur stood on the sidelines like a backup dancer in his own show. And now it's boiling over. The locker room has had it. Guys are fed up with the passive-aggressive politics. You got veterans quietly rooting for Shedeur to get a shot, not because they like drama, but because they want to win. They're watching games slip through their fingers, knowing there's a weapon right there, one they're not allowed to use. And that eats away at morale faster than any losing streak. The whispers turned into leaks. The leaks turned into full-on back-channel chaos. Insider reports. Anonymous quotes. Finger-pointing. Players taking subtle digs in interviews. The energy is toxic. Not dramatic for the sake of drama. Actually toxic. As in irreversible damage being done. And at the center of it all, Shedeur, the quiet storm. The guy who hasn't lashed out, hasn't posted cryptic tweets, hasn't played the media game. He's kept his head down, said all the right things, and still ended up being the eye of the storm. Which raises a question. Why? Why is a franchise as desperate for success so terrified of its most promising player? Here's the ugly truth. They're scared of being exposed. Because if Shedeur gets on that field and lights it up, it will raise every uncomfortable question they've been dodging all season. Why didn't he start earlier? Why was he buried on the depth chart? Why were resources spent on less talented quarterbacks, while future stars sat in street clothes? It would be a moment of reckoning, a mirror shoved in their face. And it's clear from the outside looking in. The Browns would rather avoid that reckoning than do what's best for the team. This is what happens when ego outranks logic, when fear of embarrassment outweighs desire to win, when a franchise that's been haunted by its past can't seem to stop repeating it. And make no mistake, this is repetition. Browns fans have seen this before. Young talent mismanaged. Promising moments squandered. The same tired carousel of excuses. But this one hits different. Because with Shedeur, it's not just about wins. It's about identity. What kind of team do you want to be? The one that plays scared? Or the one that takes the risk, puts the ball in your best player's hands, and lets the chips fall? Right now, Cleveland looks like a team playing scared. Scared of change. Scared of getting it wrong. Scared of what success might actually look like if they stop micromanaging every inch of it. And as they stall out, other teams are circling. You can feel it. GMs from quarterback star franchises are already daydreaming about Shedeur in their uniform. How long do you think a player like that will stay quiet? Stay patient? Stay loyal? Because patience has a shelf life, and Shedeur's is nearing the expiration date. Let's be real. He doesn't need Cleveland. But Cleveland desperately needs him. They need a new face of the franchise. They need a locker room rallying point. They need someone to believe in, not next year, not when the politics cool off, right now. And yet, here we are, watching the Browns do the most Browns thing imaginable, overthink themselves into a corner, let their fear drive the bus right off a cliff, turn potential fairy tale into another footnote in a long, exhausting history of dysfunction. You know what this locker room is missing? Trust. Trust in leadership. Trust in decisions. Trust that merit still matters. That if you work hard, if you play well, you'll get your shot. That trust is gone. And once it's gone, you don't get it back with an apology. You don't fix it with a post-game speech or a well-crafted tweet about brotherhood. You earn it back by acting right, by making the bold call, by playing to win. So now, the Browns are at crossroads. One road leads to salvation. The other? Another year of what-ifs almost and could be beans. Play Shedeur. That's it. That's the move. Play him. Let the locker room know you're serious about winning. Let the fans know you still care. Let the rest of the league know that Cleveland can break the cycle. Because if they don't, if they keep clinging to this facade, hoping the fire will magically put itself out, then they deserve every single consequence headed their way. The losses, the locker room mutiny, the media circus, the fans walking away. All of it. This isn't just about football anymore. It's about leadership, about culture, about who this team chooses to be in the face of its own dysfunction. They have the talent. They have the moment. Now all they need is the courage to act. And if they don't, well, let's just say this will go down as the Shedeur-Sanders era. That never got to begin. And something tells me the league won't forget that. And neither will he. If you're still with me, I want to know, are you watching this dumpster fire unfold with disbelief, or have you already accepted this as just another Browns classic? Drop a comment and let's vent together. And hey, if you want more chaotic breakdowns, wild meltdown, and franchise misfires, don't forget to hit subscribe, because this story, it's not over, not even close. At the center of this mess is Shedeur-Sanders, still calm, still composed, and somehow still sidelined. He's become a symbol, whether he likes it or not. A symbol of what could be. A mirror showing the franchise a face it refuses to look at. Not just a quarterback in waiting, but a walking indictment of everything broken behind those closed doors. And the crazy part? He hasn't said a word. He doesn't need to, because every time the camera cuts to him standing on the sideline, helmet off, eyes sharp, not pouting, not sulking, it says more than any soundbite ever could. It says, I'm ready. You're not. Let's talk about that silence for a second. Because while the locker room leaks have gotten louder, while fans are chanting his name and reporters are drawing blood in press conferences, Shedeur has kept quiet. It's almost eerie. That kind of composure, that doesn't come from fear. That comes from knowing you're that guy, that your moment is coming. And when it does, you won't have to say anything. The play will do the talking. But the longer the Browns wait, the more that silence turns into something else. A statement, a quiet protest. Because you can only keep a thoroughbred in the stable so long before it starts kicking down the door. And let's not pretend like the other players aren't seeing this for what it is. They've been watching all season, watching the team stumble, watching the quarterback room spiral, watching their most dangerous weapons sit untouched like a glass case marked break in case of accountability. They're done pretending this is about development. It's about control. It's about protecting the system, not winning games. And that is the real tragedy unfolding in Cleveland, because this isn't just a miscalculation, it's a betrayal of the locker room, of the fans, of a kid who walked into that facility ready to grind, ready to prove himself, and instead got buried under layers of politics, fear, and franchise insecurity. You don't just bench Shedeur Sanders. You bench what he represents. Progress, potential, change. And for the Browns, that's the scariest part. Because if he walks in and starts delivering wins, it unravels the whole mythology the front office has been selling. It forces uncomfortable questions. Like, why didn't we trust him sooner? Why did we waste half the season pretending the answer wasn't already on the roster? Why did we sabotage ourselves? And let's be honest, this isn't just Cleveland's mess anymore. The whole league is watching. Shedeur's name is trending. Insiders are chirping. Other locker rooms are gossiping. Other quarterbacks are quietly side-eyeing their own depth charts, wondering how a kid with that much talent is still holding a clipboard in week whatever. Rival scouts are already circling. It's like blood in the water. And if the Browns think they're going to keep Shedeur in-house much longer without giving him a shot, they are wildly underestimating how fast things move in this league. The NFL doesn't reward patience. It rewards proof. And so far, the Browns have proven exactly one thing. They are still terrified of the light. Meanwhile, fans are lighting up phone lines, burning up message boards, and, let's be real, starting to emotionally check out. Because how many times can you sell next year before people stop buying? How many trust the process speeches can you give when the process looks more like a hostage negotiation? People came into this season hopeful. That wasn't always the case with Cleveland, but this time felt different. The roster was stacked. The defense looked nasty. The offense had weapons. And in the background was Shedeur, quiet, confident, ready to make noise. But instead of building the team around him, the Browns shoved him into a dark corner and hoped no one would ask questions. Well, they're asking now. They're asking why the most explosive quarterback on the team is third on the depth chart. They're asking why the coaching staff keeps giving generic, dismissive answers when pressed. They're asking why a franchise so desperate to win is so afraid of trying. And worst of all, they're starting to ask if this was ever about winning at all. Because if it was, Sanders would already be out there. Let's be clear. Starting him doesn't mean instant salvation. This isn't a fairy tale. He's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. He might throw some bad picks. He might take a few hits. But guess what? That's football. That's how you grow a quarterback. You throw him in the fire and see if he comes out forged or fried. But what Cleveland's doing, that's not strategy. That's stagnation. They're so scared of taking a step back that they're stuck in place, pretending like the walls aren't closing in. Well, newsflash, they are. And when this thing fully caves and when the team implodes, when the leaks become full-on exposés, when Shedeur eventually does walk out that door and ends up torching Cleveland in another jersey, it won't be bad luck. It'll be self-inflicted. They'll look back and realize they had the answer the whole time. And they blinked. They played scared. They played politics. And they lost more than a season. They lost faith from the players, from the city, from the league. So now, the only question that matters is, will they pull the trigger before it's too late? Because here's what comes next if they don't. The locker room fractures completely. The team starts sleepwalking through games. Players check out emotionally. Veterans start planning their exits. Fans stop showing up. Local media turns feral. National media starts calling for heads. And Shedeur? He's still there. Still calm. Still quiet. Until he's not. Until he decides he's done waiting. Until the phone rings and a better opportunity comes calling. And the Browns? They'll be left holding the shattered pieces of what could have been a dynasty. A golden window. A moment that never got to breathe. They'll put out another statement. They'll draft another developmental guy. They'll rebrand again. Maybe even blame the media. And history will roll its eyes. Because we'll all know the truth. That Shedeur Sanders was the one. That they had him. And they chose to waste him. That's the story being written right now. Whether the Browns realize it or not. And that's exactly what this is. A brewing storm. One that's been simmering for months behind the beige walls of Berea. You got coaches whispering behind closed doors. You got players rolling their eyes in meetings. You got fans watching game after game with that gnawing feeling in their gut. We're wasting something special. And the worst part? The Browns know it. They know exactly what they have. That's why they're afraid. Because if Shedeur goes in and shines, even a little, it will destroy the fragile little world they've built around protecting the system. That infamous system that only seems to work in theory, never in practice. That system that treats quarterbacks like interchangeable cogs instead of the centerpiece of a franchise. But Shedeur, he's not a cog. He's a spark. And sparks either light a fire or burn the whole thing down. Cleveland is playing a dangerous game. They're betting that they can keep things quiet, hold the line, and pray the media cycle moves on. That fans will get distracted. That the locker room will simmer down. That Shedeur's patience will outlast the dysfunction around him. But patience has a limit, especially when it's being tested by incompetence. And let's talk about that incompetence for a second, because it's not just about football IQ. It's about people management, about leadership, about knowing when to swallow your pride and do what's best for the team, not your ego. Keeping Shedeur on the bench might protect someone's pride, but it's killing the locker room. These guys want to win. They want momentum. They want hope. What they don't want, another half-baked season of conservative play calling, questionable rotations, and a rotating door of quarterbacks who can't even hold the offense together, let alone elevate it. And yet, every week, it's the same story. Shedeur in sweats. Coaches dodging questions. The starter trotting out and throwing ducks while the team sputters like a car with a cracked engine block. Meanwhile, reporters are already salivating at the what-ifs. What if Shedeur had been given the reins? What if Cleveland had shown an ounce of courage? What if the Browns had leaned into the chaos instead of trying to avoid it? The problem is those what-ifs are turning into when not-ifs. As in, when not if Shedeur ends up somewhere else. When another team comes calling. When his rookie contract becomes leverage. When a trade demand hits the headlines. When he finally says, enough, because you can only waste a quarterback's time for so long before he decides to reclaim it. And if that happens, if Shedeur walks away from Cleveland without ever getting a real shot, it'll go down in the disaster archives next to Johnny Manziel, Josh Gordon, and every other tale of talent misused, misunderstood, and mismanaged. But this one will hurt more, because this time they knew they had it, and they still found a way to fumble it. The fallout wouldn't just be bad. It'd be nuclear. Sponsors would pull back. Players would question their future. The fan base would be divided. Again. And the national media? They'd feast. It would be open season on Cleveland. And not even Stefanski's comma soundbite could clean it up. But maybe that's what it takes. Maybe the Browns need to be embarrassed fully before they'll finally stop protecting the wrong things. Because if the past is any indication, this franchise doesn't move until the pain gets unbearable, until they're forced to make the changes they've spent years avoiding. So maybe we should root for the collapse. Maybe we need one more ugly loss, one more sideline shouting match, one more leaked locker room quote that sends Twitter into orbit, because maybe then someone in power will finally say the words everyone else is too afraid to admit. We're blowing it. We are sitting on the future and treating it like a backup plan. And here's where things start getting even more messy, because now even other players are getting dragged into the dysfunction. You think wide receivers haven't noticed they're running routes for quarterbacks who can't hit a 15-yard out? You think linemen haven't started muttering in the huddle? You think the defense isn't watching their hard work get erased by 3-and-outs and wondering why the best quarterback on the team is still inactive? It's not just about Shedeur anymore. It's about everyone else who came to win and ended up in a reality show. And yes, we're calling it a reality show now, because this season has all the hallmarks. Dramatic confessional leaks, a stubborn protagonist refusing to change, side characters getting fed up, and a fan base that's just trying to make it through the episode without screaming. Congratulations, Cleveland. You've officially gone from team on the rise to cautionary tale in real time. And yet, there's still a sliver of hope. One that's hanging by a thread. But it's there. There's still time to pivot. To throw the plan out the window and trust the talent. To let Shedeur loose and finally see what the kid can do. Not next season. Not in garbage time. Now. Because if you're going to go down, at least go down swinging. And wouldn't it be something if the season turned around? Wouldn't it be something if Shedeur stepped onto the field, took command of the offense, and injected life into this flatlining team? If suddenly the locker room rallied, if the fans came roaring back, if the team found a rhythm and the narrative flipped from meltdown to redemption arc, it's not a fantasy. It's possible, but only if someone upstairs finds the guts to make the call. And that's what this all comes down to. Guts. This team has the talent. This team has the fans. This team has a future, if they choose it. But if they keep running scared, if they keep Shedeur under wraps and play the safe game until there's nothing left to salvage, then they deserve what's coming. Every last bit of it. The Browns aren't just playing with a quarterback controversy. They're playing with fire. And the longer they let this burn without doing something about it, the closer they get to turning a football problem into a full-blown cultural collapse. So here's the final message. Start Shedeur Sanders. Not because it's flashy. Not because the fans are screaming. But because it's right. Because doing the right thing when it's hard is what separates real franchises from the ones who fold when it counts. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to stop pretending. It's time to hand the keys to the guy who's been ready from day one. And if they don't, then don't be surprised when Shedeur's name is up in lights somewhere else. When he's torching defenses in a different jersey. When he's looking back at Cleveland in his rearview mirror and thinking they could have had it all. The Browns are standing at the edge of something huge. They can jump, or they can keep circling the same drain they've been swirling for 2 decades. The choice is theirs. And trust me, we'll all be watching. Comment your thoughts, Browns fans. Are you still holding out hope, or are you already scouting his next team? Hit subscribe if you're here for the drama, because if Cleveland doesn't act fast, this isn't just going to be a quarterback controversy. It's going to be the greatest what could have been in modern NFL history, and we'll be here to document every second of it.